Alright, welcome to this week's educational video. In this educational series, we just try and cover something every single week that will help you lose weight. Okay, if you do like these videos, then please make sure that you give our channel a subscribe and also give this video a like, really does help. So this week's video is going to be on why you lose fat really quickly, especially in the start of your health and fitness journey, and then all of a sudden it stops. Okay, so I know most of you must be going to the, oh yep, it's just because I'm not consistent. Yes, that is one of the main reasons, consistency. If you do fall off, then obviously, yeah, the results are going to stop. But there are a couple of other reasons as to why the weight may stop dropping at a consistent rate. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. Alright, so usually in the first week, you're going to lose more than your initial weekly target. For example, a really safe amount of weight that you should be losing per week is roughly around 1% of your body weight. So for example, if you're 100 kilos, you should be losing anywhere between, just 1 kilo a week, or just a little bit under to be on the safe side. The reason why you don't want to rush weight loss early is because what happens is people burn out early. Okay, so you would rather stay consistent where the intensity is maybe like 70% hard, but you're staying consistent for 20 weeks than if you were to do a program and it's like 120% hard, where you're pushing at 120% intensity. Now that's over your limit. So obviously you're going to burn out. And this is what we see time and time again. People rush results, and so they choose something that's really high intensity that they can't keep up with, and then they burn out. So a safe rate at which you should be losing weight is roughly around 1% of your body weight per week. However, in your first week, you'll lose anywhere between 1 to 2%. And the reason why is because in the first week, you're losing more than just fat. You're losing body weight, okay? You're flushing out the system. It's a mixture of water weight, it's a mixture of digestion, and it's a mixture of fat loss. So in your first week, you'll start a new program and you'll think, oh my gosh, I lost 2 kilos. And then in your second week, maybe you go back to that initial number of that 1% that I was talking about. Maybe in week 2, you only lose 1 kilo. Now, I know mentally you might be thinking, oh my gosh, like I did way better in my first week. Things are going downhill from here. I'm not getting as much results. And then the motivation drops. When in truth, it actually stays the same, because it's probably 1 kilo of fat loss that you lost in the first week anyway, but the extra kilo just came from water and digestion. And by digestion, I just mean, you're flushing out the system. So what you'll find in week 3 and week 4, and this is if you're staying consistent, is your weight that comes off will be smaller, but it will be more directed towards fat loss, okay? So out of all the weight that you lose each week, there's a percentage of it that's fat loss, a percentage of it water loss, maybe some muscle that you've lost, hopefully not, but sometimes it happens. When you jump on the scales, it measures everything. And what you're actually after is fat loss. So don't get too hung up on the scales. That's really the first reason. Probably dragged on a little bit there. But yeah, it's just because you're flushing out the system that you'll have dramatic changes in the first couple of weeks as opposed to the later weeks. All right, so second reason is because you've plateaued. All right, now this usually happens, it's only when you're, 6 to maybe 8, sometimes even 10 weeks worth of consistency where your body has adapted to the new program or the new amount of nutrition that you're eating. For example, if you have a maintenance amount of calories, this just means the exact amount of energy that your body needs to live the lifestyle that you have. Let's say, for example, it costs your body 2,500 calories every single day to live how you have been living with your lifestyle. Now, let's say, for example, we're trying to lose weight, but you've got a dramatic calorie deficit. Let's say it's 1,500 calories that you're eating each day. That's a 1,000 calorie deficit per day. Now, let's say that we've stayed consistent for about 8 to 10 weeks. Okay, that's roughly like 2.5 months. So that'll be roughly around 70 days. So that's about 70,000 calories. Now, for example, 7,700 calories is 1 kilo of fat. That'll be roughly around just under 10 kilos that you've lost. Your body is going to adapt because it's a smaller body now. It doesn't need as much energy as it did when you were at your heaviest, and at the same time, it's adapted to the new calories that you've been having. And obviously, like 1,500 calories is really, really low if you have 2,500 calories as your maintenance, just using it as an example. But this is one of those examples where your body has gotten used to dramatically low calories, and so what will happen is your metabolism will slow down. When you have a slow metabolism, then that 1,000 calorie deficit, it might actually be like a 600 calorie deficit or a 500 calorie deficit, because you're not burning 2,500 calories anymore. As you've gotten used to low calories, the calories that you originally burning is not 2,500. It slowly comes down to that 1,500 calories because it adapts to you having lower calories, right? Your body will do whatever it needs to survive. So over those 10 weeks, the amount at which it burns starts to slowly come down because it's learning how to survive on lower calories. And you're actually relying on that gap to bring you weight loss results. And as that gap gets closer and closer to the amount of calories that you're actually eating, your results get slower. How to make this work for you? It really comes down to understanding. The first thing is just knowing that the number on the scales is just the number on the scales. All we need it for is just to know that we're moving in the right direction. There's a couple of red signals that you should look out for when it comes to the scales. If we're losing way too much weight too quickly, then we're going too hard too fast, and you're not going to last. It's a marathon. It's not about getting results really, really quick, because if you get those results quick, it will go just as quick. You have to learn the habits on how to keep the results once you get them, and that comes through actually going through the journey. Try and think of it. You probably built up these habits for the last couple of years, and you're expecting to lose it in 4 weeks. Like, you're kidding yourself. At least give yourself 12 weeks to really stay consistent, because 12 weeks worth of consistency will give you more of a chance to knock out the last 5 years worth of habits that you probably built up. It's a marathon, and so you need to choose the correct intensity when it comes to following the right program. So trust the process, make sure that you're staying within your targets, and choose something that you're going to be able to stay consistent with. When you're measuring your progress, you have to combine scales with photos, with your results in the gym, with maybe some fitness, as well as, you know, how you feel, your energy, your sleep, your organization, and the habits that you're slowly building. Okay, there's so much when it comes to measuring your progress. Scales is just one. It's not the be all end all. It just shows you a little bit of direction. Yep, so that pretty much answers why your weight loss is dramatic in the first couple of weeks as opposed to, you know, later weeks. And it's because it's kind of like a shock to the system. That's usually reason number one. So you'll lose more weight in the first couple of weeks than you would in, you know, your later weeks. Or you've been so consistent for like 8 to 10 weeks, your body has just gotten used to the lower calories, and that's why your results have slowed down. But just keep in mind, the second option is very rare, because most people cannot stay consistent for that long unless you choose something that is at the correct level intensity for you. All right, guys, if you want to hear any more topics on health and fitness, then we'll be really open to, or anything really, drop them down in the comments below, and I'll make a new video on some new subjects moving forward into the next couple of weeks. Thanks, guys.